What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the 2010 album by Yelawolf. Basically, this project is called Trunk Music 0 to 60 and it came out in the fall of 2010. Now, the thing about this particular project is it's a revamp of Yelawolf's. Now, the thing about this particular project is it's a revamp of Yelawolf's early 2010 mixtape Trunk Music. And the thing about that particular project is that was pretty much a heralded project. Yelawolf has dropped a number of projects in the Trunk Music series. There's some more of these I'm going to get to. I reviewed Trunk Music 3. I reviewed Trunk Music 3 back in 2019. I'm going to get to Trunk Music Returns, but this is a particular one. This is probably seen as the one that's like, I think Trunk Music 0 to 60 is the one that's seen by the public as like the best in like the Trunk Music series, I would have to say. And it's just an overall pretty stellar one. It's definitely going to get a pretty rave score. This is pretty much like a classic Yelawolf album and pretty much like a classic 2010s rap album, I would have to say. It's just cream of the crop in terms of what has necessarily happened with that. This is definitely something that competes with like some Eminem albums and senses like that. It's just a very good concept. There's just a lot of good vibes about this particular project, and it just overall does well. Like I kind of feel like there's like some mild horrorcore on this particular album. This album is kind of commercial. There's like some mild horrorcore on this album. I feel like this is like another good rendition of horrorcore music that's commercial, kind of similar to Eminem's Relapse and things like that. Definitely kind of similar to Eminem's Relapse and things like that. Definitely has some similar pitches as far as that kind of happens. Not quite as sheerly eviscerating as Relapse, but definitely in the same valve as that as far as that particularly kind of happens. And the thing about Yelawolf is he's just a particular kind of powder keg on this particular album. He's a hot shot and he's kind of like loose around the collar as far as that kind of happens on this particular album. He just has a lot of craziness that's pretty effectual. And I think he started to mellow out. He was kind of crazy on Radioactive, but he started to mellow out as like the 2010s kind of progressed. I just kind of feel like this particular album really, I would say Trunk Music 0 to 60 definitely captures like the craziness of Yelawolf's particular personality. He just has like a lot of affable lyrics. He's a little bit more kind of affluent and a little bit more vocal than Eminem kind of is. And he's a little bit more kind of just powder cake than Paul Wall is. And he's a little bit kind of more just ravenous than Mac Miller and stuff like that. So it's just kind of the concept of some of those folks as far as that kind of have. It's definitely a good pitch to kind of have. There were 3 singles off this particular mixtape or pseudo album as far as that kind of happens. You can actually purchase this as a CD. So despite the fact that this is kind of like a pseudo EP and kind of like a reimagining of like a mixtape, this is actually something for retail as far as that kind of happens. So it's a good concept as far as that kind of goes. Definitely a pretty heralded project as far as that kind of happens. Definitely I would recommend scooping this up. It's kind of more low key. It's kind of something that may not be readily kind of available, especially nowadays, now that it's over 13 years old. But I still would have to say it's worth seeking out if you can find it as far as I kind of have. It's just a definite good one to kind of have. So, yeah, there were 3 singles on this particular album. And the first single was Pop the Trunk. So, Pop the Trunk is the first single, and this is kind of a menacing and somber piano beat. I would have to say it's a commercial horrorcore like tune, definitely, and it's just a classic kind of Yelawolf hit, I would have to say. So this is pretty much like a vintage one at this point. It's a real rave kind of tune from Pop the Trunk is pretty much like a vanilla and kind of a visceral horrorcore type tune, I would have to say. It's commercial and radio ready, definitely just has a pretty snaring. This one has a pretty snaring hook, I would have to say. It's just overall a boppish kind of one that's ready to go as far as that kind of happens. Just a definite nice one. It's just an excellent kind of song to kind of have. And it's just a great one. Kind of reminds me of Eminem's Relapse in a lot of ways. Just the same kind of commercial bite that those particular songs kind of had, just in a good pitch. Definitely a pretty somber and just kind of Pop the Trunk is definitely a pretty somber and just overall grim type beat that just works pretty damn well. So it's definitely some commercial horrorcore as far as that. This is definitely some radio ready horrorcore as far as that kind of happens. So I like the fact that this is kind of underground, but it's kind of not. Yelawolf is just a powder keg. He has the right lyrics on the song and just overall works pretty well. The second single is I Just Want to Party, and this has Gucci Mane on there. Definite. I Just Want to Party is the second single, and this is a hauntingly excellent kind of crunk single, I would have to say. Gucci Mane does great on this song, as does Yelawolf. This is a definite nice one. This has a super hook on it, and this song has a super hook on it. The chick on the song does a really excellent job with the hook on there, and this is just a pretty grim radio tune, I would have to say. So this is just a real fabulous, kind of magnificent, kind of horrorcore type tune that just has like a real kind of haunting and grim type feel that just works extremely well. It's just an overall nice one. Pretty much one of Yelawolf's best songs, even today, I would have to say. This is just a continued highlight, and this is pretty much like a pretty good Kickstarter and party starter as far as that kind of happens. Just an overall highlighted one that just continues to have bite today, and it's definitely probably one of the more rave rap songs like the early 2010s. This is just an easy kind of pitch one that just has like some rave energy and just really nails it in pretty much all cylinders, I would have to say. So that's a good one. Then the third single from this project is Daddy's Lambo. This is another good highlight on here. This is a blazingly good kind of evening on the town single, I would have to say. It's just a the song has some thumping, warped feels about it, and it's just an overall thrilling social time. So this is a definite nice one. This is definitely a good song for the ladies as far as cruising out on the town, just late night type feels as far as houses in the hills and stuff like that. Good mansion parties, things like that as far as that kind of happens. It's a great kind of tune for just sneering kind of nightlife as far as that kind of happens. Just a great, just overall kind of this litty, kind of ritzy, kind of snazzy type tune that just has a lot of effectual kind of vibes and just overall compelling. This is just excellent hook on here, I would have to say on top of that. This is a real nice one, just a real kind of electro kind of hopper that just works extremely well. So Yelawolf just nailed all three of these singles. This is a very eviscerating type one. This is a pretty much good reason as to why this is like a classic 2010s rap album, I would have to say, and pretty much like a classic Southern album too. This really has like a great pitch. So to recommend the songs on this particular album, the only real song I don't recommend out of 12 songs on this whole album would just be I Wish with Raekwon. The thing about that particular song is it's just a bad example of how to display Raekwon on a song. This was just not a very good one for him or Yelawolf as far as that kind of happens. This one was just kind of a country fried. I Wish with Raekwon was just one that didn't really have any compelling edge towards it. It was just kind of a poor production and just didn't really jump off the page at all as far as something attractive to really kind of listen to. It was just kind of one that was just kind of a little bit more abstract and just not quite as compelling. As it was just kind of more abstract when it's just not quite as with it as far as what needed to happen. Really this is like the album's only true duds. That's kind of the concept about it. This album's going to get a 10 out of 10. So that's just kind of the concept. This is definite, like I was saying a number of times, this is a classic kind of rap album from like the 2010s. That's some good stuff. But to talk about some of these tunes on here, like there's a couple good cruising tunes. Like when this album is labeled as trunk music, that's definitely kind of the thing about it. There's definitely some songs on here that do kind of has like some car creeping as far as that kind of happens. There's some ones like Box Chevy, Love Is Not Enough, and Trunk Music that really do that. And Box Chevy's a particular nice one. This has Ritz on there. And this is like a sleepy, Box Chevy is like a very sleepy and drowsy kind of slow creep kind of cruise tune. I would have to say it's a very Ritz-like beat that it has, and it's just got a mellow feel, great for like the AM, I would have to say. So this is definitely one, when I say the AM, I'm not talking like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm talking like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, going to Target, some stuff like that, getting like breakfast, biscuits, things like that, biscuits and gravy, some IHOP and Waffle House type things as far as it kind of happens. Just some good kind of cruising around type tunes. And I definitely feel like that's some of the stuff that Yelawolf kind of does. I mean, I feel like the new songs that were added to this particular project definitely had like some horrorcore and more rowdy type energy, but some of this trunk music type tunes that are more for your car and stuff just really have like that sleepy kind of drowsiness of just vehicle life and just kind of like Waffle House music and stuff like that. Just kind of being around a vehicle and just kind of just really liking the cruising times as far as that kind of happens. There's just some good ones for that. But another one like that is the title track, Trunk Music. This is definitely some vehicle life, kind of dreary, low key. Trunk Music is definitely some vehicle life type tunes. I would have to say it's a dreary, kind of low key cruise cut, definitely. And it's just got a commercial beat, but it has edge and it's a very grabbing song, I would have to say. So it's just a definite nice one. It's just kind of one that kind of has like a particular kind of electronic type feel about it. It's just a particular kind of ritzy one, definitely for some flashy vehicles as far as that kind of happens. It's definitely like the pizzazz of that particular one. Trunk Music and Box Chevy are some definite nice ones as far as that kind of happens. And then Love Is Not Enough is kind of like a drowsy lady song, I would have to say. It's a swash kind of Waffle House like ruminating type tune, I would have to say. And it's just a mid cruise type song, I would have to say. So this is another good highlight, just a really kind of dreary and sleepy type one that just works pretty well. Definitely like the affluent feel of this particular one. Just Yelawolf going through some ladies' problems as far as that kind of happens. It's a good bop to kind of have in that sense. But these are just some really good car cruising type tunes. Definitely like the highlighted feels. Some of these just works extremely well as far as that kind of happens. Billy Crystal is a pretty good story song. Definitely like this one. This one has some rave energy and it's just kind of a loco horrorcore. Billy Crystal is just one that has some rave energy. This is kind of a loco kind of horrorcore like tune, I would have to say. It's got captivating lyrics with like a nice hook, I would definitely have to say. And it's just a grim radio tune. So this is another good highlight on here. This is kind of one that has some pizzazz about it and just overall flash as far as it kind of happens. Really like the compelling kind of lyrics on this particular song. This is a nice kind of story type tune to kind of have for some crazed individuals, would have to say. Just a pretty horrorcore like tune, just in that sort of sense, kind of similar to like Pop the Trunk and some of those type ones. I would definitely have to suppose. Just a good bopish kind of one to kind of have. Really Southern fried, just works pretty well. The hook is definitely pretty excellent. That's another good highlight on here. There's some good ones like Daddy's Lambo and Billy Crystal that really have like some commercial ready hooks that just kind of bring like some of this horrorcore kind of swash type feels to the forefront as far as I can have. So it's a good concept to kind of get that. But then, like a really pounding one on here is Get the Fuck Up. This is kind of a sneering, kind of hype, rowdy cut. I would have to say it's an easy kind of shindig Kickstarter, I would have to say. And it's just got some nice evening. This one is just a nice evening air thriller, I would have to say. And it's just an overall dope song. So this one just really has like some pounding, kind of almost rock rap kind of feels about it. Just works pretty damn well. It's just a good hype kind of energy type one that just really gets things started in like a crazy sense. It's another one kind of like Pop the Trunk and Billy Crystal and some of those type ones and marijuana that just works pretty damn heavily. It's just some good energized ones that disprove Yelawolf's powder keg and that really disprove Yelawolf's powder keg personality works pretty damn well. So it's definitely kind of the concept about it. Another good highlight on here is That's What We On Now. That's What We On Now is definitely kind of an out in the wind kind of night fair. I would have to say it's a hype glitzy. This song is kind of a hype glitzy flex song. I would have to say it's a vehicle pal, and by that I just mean a good buddy to have for your vehicle as far as that kind of happens. And it's just a vanilla crazy kind of night. And this song is just great for some vanilla kind of cray nights, I would have to say. And by cray, I mean definitely crazy. So that's kind of the concept about it. This is kind of a vanilla song, but it just hits pretty heavily as far as that kind of happens. Just another kind of thumper as far as that kind of happens. Just a good one to kind of pair up with Get the Fuck Up, Daddy's Lambo, I Just Want to Party, some of those type ones. Definitely some hype energy as far as this album kind of goes. Just some good stuff as far as that kind of happens. Just really like the pitch and the overall sheer concept of getting some of these. Yelawolf really has these in like stocks. I just had to say it's a great album. The thing about it is this is just a great album. It's just a cream of the crop kind of album that just really does a lot of things right, I would have to say. So another good highlight on here is Marijuana. This has a great Nirvana hook on here. Definitely like the sample of the Nirvana song as far as that kind of happens. Just a stellar kind of rap rock kind of recreational tune for Smoke, which I would have to say. And it's just a good house party bop overall. So this is a good highlight just to kind of have for some house party fare as far as that kind of happens. Great one to pair up with I Just Want to Party and Daddy's Lambo and some of those type ones. This one's just a little bit more rock rap oriented, but it works. This one's a little bit more rock rap oriented, but it works pretty damn well. So it's a definite good concept to kind of get that one. And then the last song to recommend on here is Good to Go with Bun B. And this is a definite good highlight. This is kind of like a leery, kind of grim, paced southern type tune. I would have to say it's kind of in between Jeezy and UGK as far as that kind of happens for like the feel of what I got from it. And this is just some good haunting kind of social fare, I would have to say. So it's just a good concept as far as that kind of goes. This is definitely some ones that just kind of remind me of like something that would, this definitely reminds me of something that like Pimp C or Young Buck would do, something like that. Jeezy, Bun B, some of those type folks. It's definitely in that good concept as far as like definitely that some of those folks would kind of do. I mean, it's a pretty spare rap cut on here, I would say. This one's pretty like vanilla as far as most of this album's kind of concerned, but it still has a pretty snappy pace about it. This has like a lot of good riveting energy. It just works as like another good album cut as far as like a mid kind of pace. And this kind of works as like a mid pace kind of house party and tailgating party as far as that kind of happens. So it's just some good fare as far as that kind of happens. So that's kind of the concept about this album. Yeah. So that's kind of the concept about this album. This album's going to get a 10 out of 10. The social score is going to get a 10 out of 10 also. The social score of this album is going to get a 10 out of 10 also. This has a lot of good variety on here, some horrorcore, some commercial horrorcore as far as that kind of happens, some great vehicle tunes, some ladies songs, some smoking songs, some house party cuts, some stuff like that. Just an overall ensnaring kind of package, just a riveting kind of time, powder keg kind of energy, just overall affable kind of times that just have a lot of snap and electricity that just really make this for like a good tour de force as far as that kind of happens, just with like the visceral kind of tone that this album takes. Just the overall visceral tone that this album kind of takes. Just a lot of good social fares about it, just would have to say. So in terms of the future, I'm not really sure as to what Yelawolf's been up to in recent times. I just would have to kind of say and stuff. I know he dropped an album in 2019. He might have dropped an album like in 2021, but I'm not really wholesomely sure as to what he's been up to. But there are some more of these, but this is definitely a classic 2010s rap album and definitely one of Yelawolf's best overall. Definitely recommend seeking it out. It's just overall some excellent kind of times that you don't want to miss.